as we get started with breakfast, I'd just like to recognize the presence of Mr. Vasudeva Tumbe, who is the Vice President and CFO of the Ssangyong Motor Company, and he is also the new chairman of the ICCK. He, of course, he'll be speaking to us later. Obviously, Mr. Tumbe was very instrumental in arranging the speaker today, and he has a very close relationship to him. He'll provide some remarks prior to introducing Dr. Goenka a little bit later. Also like to recognize the presence of the Secretary General Yoon. Would you like to? And also our other ICCK board members. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeremy Everett. I'm from Kim and Chang, and I also have the role of the chairman of the Speakers Forum. And what the Speakers Forum is about is we hold them 4 to 5 times a year, and we feature global CEOs, global CFOs, prominent speakers from industry. We were the first chamber to actually hold a Speakers Forum about Brexit right after it broke. We have regular economic updates, and for instance, we've also had the global CEO of Egan Zehnder come and visit us and speak. So we hope that you'll be pleased with today's Speakers Forum and also join us for the next one. With that in mind, I'd like to let you have some time to eat breakfast and share each other's company, and I'll come back in about 25 to 30 minutes to introduce our speaker. Thank you and welcome.
Good morning, friends. I hope you had a good breakfast. I'm truly delighted and honored to have with us today Dr. Goenka, Managing Director of Mahindra's and Chairman of the Ssangyong Board amongst us, and to listen to him. Thank you, Doctor, for accepting our invitation. And thank you, dear friends, for coming and attending this event. It's a large gathering. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you very much. A bit about ICCK. ICCK has about 50-odd members today, and we are trying to get more and more with your support. Speakers Forum, this is the last event of the year. Normally we have every quarter, and this is the last Speakers Forum of the year, and the first after I have taken over as chairman. And I'm truly overwhelmed with this August gathering. The next big event is the last event of the year, that is the annual Diwali Ball, which is at Conrad on 11th November. That is 11/11, famously called Pepero Day in Korea, so you should remember that. And we have Ms. Yoon from City. I came to know that it is a birthday, so you should make it. So this is what the event is, and I'm sure many of you will be attending, I know that. And those who have not yet booked, please book that. I have worked with Dr. Goenka directly or closely for the last more than 12 years, and before that, bit of interaction. And I must say I'm privileged to get this chance to work with him. Not because he's my boss, mind you, but as a person I would like to give some insights. Because Jeremy, our chairman of the Speakers Forum, will be giving the formal introduction. But as a person, that may not come out in the formal introduction, so since I know him, I thought I should share a bit. So Dr. Goenka, as many of you know, he's a technocrat in a way. He's an R&D specialist. He understands engineering and auto in particular. I mean, nobody can challenge that. But he's not just an engineer, but has a strong business acumen and very good at financials. So as a CFO, it is always a challenge and fun, I would say, to interact with him. There's always a learning and there's an anticipation, but it's really fun to work with him. Other than that, as a person, as a leader, I would say, he is very humble. That is very important, and he sort of tries to propagate that throughout the organization, that humility is one of the most important things. High on integrity, no doubt. I mean, in Mahindra, that is the sort of a must, and he's very high on that. And a sense of time management and respect for others' time. And today also, after he missed his flight for unforeseen reason, he made it on time. Thank you, doctor, for that. And he's one of those rare bosses where I found that people speak good about him even behind his back. And he's a very simple person, and his, you will find that in his speech also, it's come straight from his heart, and it really appeals, at least to me, and I'm sure it will do to you. So I would request Jeremy to take this forward and do the formal introduction to Doctor. Thank you.
I think our chairman's introduction was actually much better than the one I'll give, knowing him personally for so many years, right? But I would like to just take a few moments to make a formal introduction of Dr. Goenka. Dr. Pawan Goenka is currently the CEO and Managing Director of Mahindra&Mahindra Limited, and also the Chairman of Ssangyong Motor Company. He is also a National Council member of the Confederation of Indian Industries and the Chairman of the Board of Governors of the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. Dr. Pawan Goenka received his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology in Kanpur and completed his PhD at Cornell University. He also graduated, is a graduate of the Advanced Management Program at Harvard Business School. Before joining Mahindra in 1993, he worked for an extended period of time at the General Motors R&D Center in Detroit for 14 years, I believe. In December of 2011, Dr. Goenka was featured as the Auto Car Professionals Man of the Year 2011. He was also awarded the CV Man of the Year award in 2012 at the Apollo CV Awards in recognition of his extensive contribution to both the Indian and global automotive industry. In 2016, Dr. Goenka became the first Indian to be awarded, and I'll probably say this wrong, awarded the Visita Medal of Honor. Is that okay? Yeah, for his particularly distinguished achievement and leadership in the global automotive industry. Dr. Goenka is past president of the Society of Indian Automotive Manufacturers, Society of Automotive Engineers India, the Automotive Research Association of India Governing Council, and he also served as a board member of the National Skills Development Corporation. Separate from that, I understand that Dr. Goenka led Mahindra's first SUV development in the late 90s, which marked really a turning point for Mahindra with the success of the SUV Scorpio, which is doing well even after 15 years. I also understand, and I don't know this personally, but I have heard that that he is fond of watching Bollywood movies and playing bridge in his spare time. With no further ado, I'd like to welcome our guest speaker. Thank you for coming, Dr. Goenka.
Good morning to you all. First of all, my apologies for coming in a little late. It was said that I missed my flight in Mumbai on Monday night, Tuesday morning, and took a later flight, arrived at 6:30 a.m. and realized that Seoul wakes up very early. I thought that from 6:30 a.m. it will be a clean sail to the hotel, but the traffic was very heavy. Unlike Mumbai, that's the only time in Mumbai there is no traffic. So, Vasudev asked me to talk about Ssangyong's story, and I'm going to just do that, narrate a story and not really give a speech. But before I do that, I thought I will talk a little bit about Mahindra. I expected that in ICCK event there will be mostly Indians, but I am impressed to see that there are very few Indians and mostly Indians and other non-Indians. So perhaps you have heard about Mahindra a little bit, but let me just take a few minutes to talk about Mahindra, and then we'll talk about Ssangyong's story. So Mahindra is a very large Indian conglomerate, and we have many businesses that I'll talk about. But we like to think that we are an innovation-led business group that provides a broad range of products and services to people around the world. We have 200,000 employees across the world. Of course, more than half of them are in India. $19 billion total revenue. We have businesses in more than 100 countries, 20 different industries, and 10 different sectors that we operate in. The company was incorporated in 1945 when the two brothers, K.C. and J.C. Mahindra, quit their Government of India job to set up a steel trading corporation in 1945, and then later on got into CKD of Jeeps, and that's how the company started, and the Jeep heritage still remains, and today also we are known largely as an SUV company in India. So as I said, like, we are in 10 different sectors, which include aerospace and defense, aftermarket, automotive, farm equipment, financial services, hospitality, IT services, Mahindra Partners, real estate, and agriculture. Having said that, the largest businesses are automotive and farm equipment, which account for more than 2/3 of the revenue and more than 2/3 of the profit for the company. And these are the two businesses that I have direct responsibility for. We are, in all the businesses that we are in, we are reasonably sort of the top, first or second. For example, we are #1 UV player, SUV player in India. We are the largest tractor brand in the world, not just in India in terms of volume. We are 5th largest in IT services company in India. We are the largest vacation ownership company in India, and so on and so forth. As I said, we are a global company. We have a R&D network in many countries, including what we have through Ssangyong in Korea. We have one in Detroit, we have in Torino, India, of course, and in Japan through acquisitions. We have 40% revenue coming out of India, outside India. Vehicle and tractors sold in more than 90 countries, business presence in more than 100 countries. And we have manufacturing locations, some through acquisitions and some through organic growth in many parts of the world, both farm equipment and automotive businesses. We have been growing reasonably well. In the last 5 years, we have grown at 10% CAGR with a 13.4 billion revenue, which compared to many large Korean conglomerates doesn't sound very much, but for India that's a fairly large, perhaps in top 10 in India. And the PAT has been growing at about 18% for the last year. I said earlier that bulk of the revenue comes from automotive and farm business, 61% automotive and 21% of farm, and bulk of the profit, 91% in fact, comes from automotive and farm businesses of the group. So we do believe in doing business in a way that makes us proud. So it's not just about how we grow in terms of revenue and in profit, but also how do we work with the community, how we work with the government, the sustainability aspect of business, and governance part of the business are very, very important to us. Our employees have spent more than 250,000 hours in volunteering on various CSR activities in the last financial year. We have 120,000 girls supported through Nanni Kali, which is a CSR program of the company for girls' higher education, and many other things that I will not get into. And one of our pride moment these days is participation in Formula E. Formula E, I don't know how many of you are aware, is the new motorsports series with electric cars, and we started in this about 4 years ago. And today, as you know, the electric cars have become sort of the thing that everybody wants to talk about every day. Newspapers in India, at least, are filled with electric car stories every day. And everybody in India has become an expert in electric cars in the last 6 months. I don't know how it is in Korea. There are sort of 6 focus areas that we're working on right now. One is delivering the future of mobility. Electric vehicles obviously play a very important role in that. Driving rural prosperity. We are very connected to the rural India through our farm business, agriculture business. Providing sustainable urbanization solutions, leading the digital transformation, which obviously is something that everybody is experiencing. Tourism and leisure, and strengthening security through our participation in Indian defense. So now I'll come to the Ssangyong story. And as I said, it is actually a story. and I'm going to talk to you as it unfolds with time. Mahindra's romance, if I could call it, with Ssangyong started way back in 2004, even before SAIC acquired Ssangyong. In fact, at that time, we briefly thought about whether we should put in a bid for Ssangyong, but we were too small, not enough money at that point of time, and most of what we had was invested in this vehicle called the Scorpio, and still had not started paying back, and so we couldn't afford to put in a bid for Ssangyong. So we let it go. SAIC bought Ssangyong. We tried a few years later to bring Rexton into India. We did negotiate, but we found that it was too early for India to have a vehicle of that price point, and therefore could not do it. Tried a few years later again with the largely SAIC management at that time to bring Rexton into India. Again failed, it didn't work out. And then when in 2009, SAIC decided to exit Ssangyong and the company went to court receivership, we thought once again, is there a potential for us to get into, an opportunity for us to get into acquiring Ssangyong? And I must say that we were very scared. The reason we were very scared was that it was a company that at that point of time was perhaps at the lowest point in their history. The previous manager or previous owners having sort of left the company, no product pipeline, no money for the company, agitated workforce because you are aware of 2009 strike that happened, a very violent strike that happened, and at the same time the auto industry and the global industry was going through economic slowdown. And therefore at that point for us to think that we as an Indian company will come into a land that is strange to us, that is unknown to us, Korea, and acquire a Korean company was what I would say very aggressive. But again, we said this is an opportunity for us that probably will never come again. And we started interacting with Mr. Wayu Lee, who was the court-appointed administrator for Ssangyong. I guess Mr. Lee, in his own style, convinced us that for Mahindra to acquire Ssangyong is an opportunity that we should not let go. And I would say that Mr. Lee was a very good salesman, and he did convince all of us that we should make our best attempt to try and acquire Ssangyong. We engaged with Mr. Lee, we engaged with the union president at that time, Mr. Kim, senior management of the company, and we found that fundamentally nothing was wrong with the company. Fundamentally, we found that the people there were very, very committed, very loyal to the company. Even after so many years of difficult times, there was nothing really that bothered people in terms of what's happening with the company. Of course, all of them were very, very, very unhappy that the company was going through a difficult time, but I could see that there was a desire to turn around the company. There was a desire both in the executive category as well as worker category. Only thing that was wrong perhaps was that there was a lack of management direction at that time. There was financial instability that had crept in. And therefore we thought that given the fit that Mahindra had with Ssangyong in terms of us being a SUV company, the strategic rationale was impeccable, if I could call it that. Similar technology, similar size, both very small, needed what we thought in American slang tender-loving care to really take the company out of the current situation. And management direction that the company needed, and we thought that Mahindra could perhaps come in and help in all of these directions, all of these things. We decided to bid, but we were not sure that we will get the bid because we thought that there were many companies, many OEMs who would be interested in buying a Korean company that was available for, I would say, a very decent price at that time. And we were kind of surprised that we were, at least from what we know, Mr. Lee never ever told us who other bidders were, even though he became CEO of the company and I was chairman of the board, but I never asked, he never told me who the other bidders were. But I thought we were we thought we were the only OEM who bid for the company. Maybe there was somebody else, and we did get the company, and we got 70% share in the company. When we acquired the company, we said that how do we, an Indian company, who do not have an experience in managing large companies outside India, though we have done some small acquisitions, how do we manage it? And we said that the most important thing to turn around a company outside our home country is not to try and impose our culture on that company, not to try and impose our management practices on that company, not to try and bring in a number of expats into the country and say we are going to run every function and report back into India. We said that we are going to have the local management run the company. We will only provide direction at the board level and a little bit indirect interaction that I would have with the CEO. And also did something very unique that has never been done in the history of Korean industry, I think, that we signed a tripartite agreement with the union, even before the acquisition, as to what is the commitment that Mahindra is making to Ssangyong. And that agreement was negotiated with the local management of Ssangyong, with the union and with Mahindra, and is in force even today. And one of the reasons why Ssangyong has not had a single strike since the time that we acquired in 2011. And those of you who know the Indian or the Korean automotive industry know that to not have a strike in 6 years in a Korean OEM is unheard of. I know it existed, he told me yesterday, where I had put down on a whiteboard as to what will be the 5 things that we will do for revival of Ssangyong. This was in 2011. There are some other things written on the side, so you can ignore that because this was an informal thing that I put on the board. If you wonder what's written there in Hindi, it comes Hamida, because I was trying to understand how you say that, and Anayang Asiyo. Again, I was trying to understand how to say that, so I wrote that down in Hindi. So we said that there are 5 things that we need to focus on. First is product pipeline. Product pipeline was very weak for Ssangyong at that time. And as you know that there is a long gestation period in launching a new product in automotive industry, perhaps 4 years depending on where you start counting. We said we're going to invest in brand, and I'll come back to these points. These are 5 important points. We said we're going to build human resources. We're going to harness synergy between Mahindra and Ssangyong and provide financial stability. And I would start with the last one first, providing financial stability, which was the most important because Ssangyong was at a period of time where they could get no credit for anything. They couldn't open LCs, the suppliers will not give them any sort of credit for purchases, and normally it's in auto industry, you work on a 55 to 60 days credit from suppliers. The banks will not loan any money, and therefore we first brought in Mahindra's relationship with various banks, with various creditors, to try and bring in working capital for Ssangyong. And that was very important because that gave a bit of confidence to people that, okay, now things are all right, we can go buy something, we can go and sell something. The second thing was on the product pipeline. So here, as I mentioned, that there was a very dry product pipeline, but we started investing in various products and made some decisions for refreshes, made some decisions for new product. Tivoli was approved shortly after Mahindra took over, and you can imagine that for the board at that time to agree to invest 300 billion Korean won in a new product for a company that had zero money was a very difficult decision. And I must say that the board at that time took a very calculated call that if we did not invest this money, there is no future for the company. And therefore it was not a risk, it was really an opportunity for us to invest in a project like that. And it turned out, history proved that Tivoli in fact became the turning point for Ssangyong. And today we are in a situation where we think that the worst is behind us, and that's primarily because of the success of Tivoli that we had started working on immediately after our M&A. And then we invested in Z4 Extron, which came out just recently. A200. Overall, we have invested, we meaning Ssangyong, has invested 1.1 trillion won since the time of M&A. And that again for a company that started with zero money in 2011 is a fairly good achievement. And this has happened without borrowing too much money from the banks. I think the total bank borrowing today is 250 billion Korean won is the total borrowing that we have, and 1.1 trillion is what we have invested. Mr. Choi, by the way, is here, who is the CEO of Ssangyong. So I don't know if you had a chance to meet him earlier. In fact, I was told that last year Ssangyong came in the list of top 100 companies in Korea, from being about 400 or 500 at the time of M&A. So that's a fairly good achievement to have happened in the 5 years, to go from 500 to top 100. So then that's about brand building. I want to move on to the fourth point, which is about human resources. And human resources, of course, were very important for the turnaround. You can imagine that a company that had gone through so much turmoil, many of the good people would have left. To hire good people was not that difficult. Mr. Lee started that process even before M&A by hiring several people. Mr. Choi was one of those who Mr. Lee brought in from Hyundai. Mr. Lee himself was from Hyundai. We have, after that, we hired head of IT, head of purchase, head of marketing from outside, and I think we have created a fairly good team now in Ssangyong at the leadership level, and also filling many of the voids, many of the gaps that we had all over. What we also try to do is change the way we measure performance in the company. Brought in more performance culture, KRAs, brought in performance pay for the first time that didn't exist. In fact, we started this practice of defining a promise cycle every 3 years, which was done by the people in Ssangyong, not something that Mahindra forced, where we decide that for the next 3 years, what are the various things that we will work on and what are the objectives that we will have, and defining the market position, the revenue, the technology, the human resource development, and it's something that has then helped become a sort of blueprint for the 3 years for the company. And I think labor management was a key area. I mentioned earlier that there was no strike, that there's no strike that Ssangyong had in the last 6 years, which is remarkable. But the labor union or union president, we have had two. Mr. Kim was there when we took over, and Mr. Hong is the union president now. Both of them have worked very, very closely with the management and in a very proactive manner. Unlike the image that one would have of labor, especially in Korea. What I find that the union is very responsive, understands what is right for the business in the long term. Of course, as any union, they will demand wage increases that they are supposed to, and they do. They do it very aggressively, very strongly. But at the same time, they understand that sometimes they have to sacrifice short term for the long term, medium and long term benefit of the company. And we have had very good working relationship with the union, which is a tribute to local management and hopefully some sort of contribution made by Mahindra in the way we approach labor unions in India. We were able to hire back about 450 unpaid leave workers in about 2012 or 13, and we started recruiting back some of the laid off workers from the time of 2009 strike. And I'll talk about synergy in a little bit later, the fifth item, which is the most important part, I think, of the turnaround. The biggest challenge that we faced, was comparison with the previous owners of Ssangyong. And though we are not directly familiar with how the company was managed by the previous owners, but clearly within the company there is a strong belief that the reason the company was in the situation it was because of how the previous owners managed the company or didn't manage the company. And therefore we were always compared with the previous owners, being again a foreign company, a foreign corporate. And this word which I sort of hate to hear, eat and run, something I didn't know before. Eat and run was used so many times to say that is Mahindra going to another eat and run company. This comparison was perhaps the most difficult mindset that we had to overtake, we had to correct. For Mahindra, it was very important because we are a company that believes that any M&A that we do is for the long haul, not something that we're coming in and in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years milk out something from the company and then walk away. In fact, I don't recall any M&A where we have walked away from it if the company hasn't done well. And therefore, we worked very hard. We hired a PR agency in Korea. We spent a lot of time working with the government authorities. We spent a lot of time working with talking to the outside union. And in fact, I remember once there was a parliamentary panel that was called, and I was asked to come and appear before the panel. And I flew in from India just for that one meeting and flew out the same evening, just like I came in this morning, had the meeting and went back in the evening. And that was an act that somehow made people believe that Mahindra is different than what many other companies may be. And at the same time, the parliamentary panel had also asked one of the local CEOs from Seoul to attend the panel, and he for some reason couldn't attend. And the comparison was made that here is a person coming from India, flying in to attend the panel, and here's a person from Seoul who doesn't bother to attend the panel. And I think that's just giving an example of kind of thing that we had to do to change the perception that Mahindra may be another eat and run company. Other challenge that we faced was that there were a lot of labor litigation that came out from the pre-M&A time. There was also this big thing about ordinary wages that many of you will be familiar with, that had a fairly significant impact on the overall wage or labor cost for the company. And there were many labor union visits that happened, so all these challenges that we had to work with. But I would like to say that I'm delighted with the outcome that we have. We like to believe that we have won as Mahindra. We have won the hearts and minds of people both within the company and outside the company. Today you don't read anything in the newspaper that says Mahindra is an eat and run company. In fact, perhaps unfairly so, Mahindra gets credit for turnaround of Ssangyong, but the credit really goes to local management led by Mr. Choi, who have worked very hard for the turnaround that has happened in the company. Just a very quick comparison of how the key indicators have changed from the time that we took over the company in 2011. So the volume has almost doubled in this time frame. Domestic volume has gone up more than 3 times in this time frame. The export volume hasn't gone up much. That's one of the concerns that we have right now. Domestic market share has gone up from 2.7% to 5.7%, which is a very significant increase. In fact, last month, for the first time ever, Ssangyong was number 3 in the domestic market, behind Hyundai and Kia. I think that's the first time ever, Mr. Right? Yeah. Revenue has gone up from 2.2 trillion to 3.7 trillion. EBITDA has gone up from 0.8% to 4%. As a majority owner, 4% is not good enough. Mr. Choi knows that, and hopefully we will say a bigger number. But even so, to go from 0.8 to 4 is a pretty good achievement. And we have product pipeline with G4 Exton, Tivoli, Turismo, Q200 will come out early next year, and Banpo, and many more to come. So let me spend some time on synergy, which was, I believe, is key to survival. Here again, we had initially some challenges. Challenge was in terms of still the distrust that many people had, that is Mahindra looking at synergy only as eat and run company, and by synergy they will steal technology from Mahindra and then abandon, technology from Ssangyong and then abandon Ssangyong. And therefore we had to get over that distrust that we had. The culture of Indian corporate and culture of Korean corporates are very different. And to kind of bring that cultures together in synergy was a big challenge. So if I was to say what is the main difference between culture of the two, when we are, let's say, developing a product in India, our biggest focus will be how to meet the cost target, okay, how to save purchase cost, and we would sacrifice time for that. in Korea, time is sacrosanct. Nothing can sacrifice time, and if you have said the product gets launched on 17th August 2017, it has to be 17th August 2017, no ifs and buts about it. In fact, when I started reviewing here, I used to ask in my reviews, are you on time for the product? And I used to get this very strange look. Why is this question being asked? Of course we are on time. I mean, that's not a question to be asked. Where in India, the answer almost always is that we are behind, but we will catch up, which never happens. So to bring this to culture, in fact, I see this as an opportunity, because if it is possible for us to bring the Ssangyong culture of being on time and Mahindra's culture of saving cost, then we can get best of both worlds. And that's what I hope Synergy will deliver to us. There are also some government regulations sharing technology in Korea that makes it sometimes harder to do synergies. And therefore, we started with some small wins in implementing the IT system from Mahindra, where Mahindra was definitely ahead of Ssangyong because of a Mahindra company. We brought in negotiation suppliers to save some money. Engine development we did together, where we saved $15 million for Ssangyong and similar amount for Mahindra. Right now, we're doing a common engine between Mahindra and Ssangyong, which will save $50 million for Ssangyong. Aggregate sharing that we have done, platform licensing, the Tivoli platform licensed to Mahindra, joint platform development that we are working on right now, and joint technology development that we're working on right now. So I'm very happy with the way the synergy between the two companies is going. Of course, one can always look for more or ask for more, but over the time, given where we started from, where the totally two different cultures, two different companies, two different countries, to come to this point, I thought it was a pretty good achievement and a good tribute to management here in Korea and the management back in India of the automotive business. The 2016 was the best year for Ssangyong. 2017 has seen a little bit of slowdown, and I'm sure that will bounce back from this current position. And if I was to kind of look at what has been done and what is not done yet, I would say that I believe that we need to do a lot more in synergy on product, on platform, on powertrain, on technology than what we have done. Because today in the automotive industry, it's not just about Mahindra and Ssangyong. Even very, very large companies really depend on working together with other companies with alliances because of the very heavy cost of development of new technology and very short product cycles that are coming in. We need to work on our brand a little more. Even today, when we price a product, we have to discount a product 2-3-4% compared to the market leaders, and we need to take that gap away so that we are able to price a product at the same level as the market leaders. We need to develop 2 or 3 major large markets outside Korea. About 3 years ago, Russia was a very big market for us, but unfortunately, Russia market, because of the Russian economic crisis, had completely disappeared. But we need to bring back a couple of such markets because we need to get to volumes of more than 200,000 vehicles to be financially healthy. And right now we are at about 150,000 vehicles. We need to work on cost structure. You are aware that labor cost in Korea is very high. In fact, perhaps we have 15% of our revenue is labor cost, 15%, whereas in India it's only about 6%. So that's a 9% gap between labor cost in Korea and India. And 15% perhaps is amongst the highest anywhere that you will see in the world. Even Germany, I'm told, is only about 12 or 13%. So we need to work on overall cost structure. The ordinary wages obviously have its own impact on the cost structure, labor cost structure especially. I think Mahindra and Ssangyong together can contribute to wider engagement between India and Korea at the cultural level, at the business level, people, tourism. In many ways, there's a lot of commonality in the way Indians think, in the way Koreans think. And I think this is the largest alliance that we have between the Indian business and the Korean business, and therefore we can play that part also. Let me just wrap up by talking about what are our learnings from this alliance with Ssangyong. In fact, in some ways, I have become an ambassador of Korea in India by talking about what is good about Korea. And anytime I give a speech in an external forum, or even internal forum, I talk about what India needs to learn from Korea. And there's a lot that India can learn from Korea, and there's a lot that Indian companies can learn from Korea. The biggest and the most important thing is the culture of work discipline. This is something that those who have always worked in Korea will never realize how different it is from many parts of the world. Like I said earlier, that if a product is launched on 17th August 2017, it will happen on that day, come what may. If today we are supposed to make 239 vehicles, we'll make 239 vehicles. There is no question of 238 or 240. It will be 239. So that discipline that you see in Korea, India is nowhere, and many parts of the world will not be anywhere near Korea in terms of that discipline. The focus on quality, I believe, is very high. Again, it's not just a Korea and India comparison. When I even look at many other parts of the world, the focus that I see on quality in Korea is unmatched. Adherence to commitment, obviously. Meetings are very short. This is something that I wish I could copy in India. Here in Ssangyong, a 1 hour meeting is too long, and in India, a 1 hour meeting is too short. So to be able to communicate and get the job done in a short time is something that is strength of Korean culture. It's not, again, I don't think it's about Ssangyong, though I'm exposed only to Ssangyong, but I think it's more of Korean culture, the way the business is done. The presentations that are made in those things, in fact, I have copied many things back in India. The templates that are created for presentations, something that I would like to see happen. When it comes to India, what Korean businesses could perhaps learn from India, again, I am saying it based on very limited experience that I have with one company and a couple of more companies that I have worked with in Korea. One is frugality. Frugality is cost consciousness. And I think India is still ahead of Korea in cost consciousness and how we are able to do things at a lower investment, lower cost. In fact, Mr. Choi will remember that in the early days when the presentations were made to me for investment approval on product, I used to be able to cut 25-30% from that investment. Now I cannot cut anything. So either they have understood how to handle me, or they have brought it down to the level that would be acceptable in the context that we are in. Risk taking. I think risk taking is a little higher in Indian companies that I observe in Korean culture. This is my belief, and I may be totally wrong in this, but I think that Indians do have a little higher appetite for risk taking and finding solutions to problems that are ticklish, and that happens again because of risk taking. One of the most important things that Korea has done, which has made Korea what it is today, was done in 1960s, in my belief, when Korean government decided to invest very heavily in R&D. I don't know how many of you know that amongst all major companies in the world, the highest GDP investment in R&D is in Korea. About 4.5% of GDP is invested in R&D. India is less than 1%. And there is no other country in the world that is anywhere near Korea in terms of R&D investment. And that R&D investment has allowed Korea to become what it is. It is, it is amazing when I compare to Indian situation. Given how low Indian labor cost is, and given how high Korean labor cost is, Korean auto industry still exports more than half of its output in spite of the high labor cost, and Indian auto industry exports only about 10% of its output in spite of its low labor cost. So therefore it goes to show it's not about labor cost, it's about what you're able to do with the product, which I think Korea has done very well and have created some institutions, some companies that have global recognition in all industries, not just in auto industry. Which is thriving not on the basis of cost arbitrage, but on the basis of technology, on quality that they have put in place, and creating brand that they have done. For me personally, it has been a great experience to learn from my association with Ssangyong. And if I ever was to write a memoir, which I will not, Ssangyong will have a very large chapter in it. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much for inviting me here today, Vasudev. It's been a pleasure for me to interact, to talk to this audience. I think we have time for questions. So anything that you want to talk about what I have talked about, or anything else for that matter, I'll be more than happy to do it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Goenka. Thank you for coming, and thank you for the insight that you gave us. We've got some time for questions, maybe 30 minutes. We have a few mics. Please hold your hands up and we'll get the mics to you. When you ask a question, could you also give your name and where you work?
My name is M.K. Kim from POSCOM. Dr. Goenka, thank you for your wonderful presentation. Not only just the Ssangyong Motor, but also your Mahindra group in India. I'm going to raise two quick questions. One is, as one of the biggest Indian industrial group, do you have any plan to further invest in the Korean market? That is my first question. Second question is on the security issue on the Korean Peninsula. As you see, the military standoff between the U.S., South Korea against the North Korea has been escalating day by day. And then I think it's going to, we are at the quite dangerous situation. That is my personal opinion. As one of the biggest Indian investors in Korea, definitely you will have your own perspective. I'm going to hear from you what you're thinking about short-term, medium, long-term solution. That is my question. Thank you.
Well, second question is a little. Mic.
Second question is a little dangerous for me to get into. Listening. There's no doubt that the whole world is concerned right now of what might happen in this situation that is there. As an Indian company, if I could just be very limited on that, we are right now not being influenced in our decision making or investment in any part of the world because of that. Because in India, I guess we are used to crisis happening, and every crisis comes and goes. And end of the day, one finds a way to get over any crisis that happens. We keep looking at things to do in Korea beyond what we have with Ssangyong. In terms of bringing our own businesses like our IT business and grow it in Korea. And also look at the acquisition opportunities that we have other than Ssangyong in Korea. Of course, not automotive industry, but other industry. We have been in dialogue with some people, but nothing that has become concrete so far. So if we get a good opportunity to invest in Korea, we would. We think after 6 years, we know Korea a little bit, and next time around, we probably would do things a little bit differently. We have learned a few things across the way, around the way, and if we get a good opportunity, we would invest. We think that Korea is a good country to learn from, and therefore investing in Korea is good for us overall.
My name is Pawan. I'm from North. Sorry. Sorry, can you hear me now? Yes. Good morning, Dr. Goenka. I think this topic is really interesting and also learn a lot from that. My name is Pawan. I'm from the Novis. Actually, Novis is a branch company of Banpo and belongs to the ABG joint. You know that. We actually are producing the aluminum flare rod products, kind of lightweight solution provider for all car makers. It can meet those regulations like emission control and also fuel efficiency and so on. Right? So my question actually related to this electric vehicle, and also you mentioned Mahindra&Mahindra joined this Formula E, and in this May, as Mahindra also acquired this vehicle, like this EV company. So I believe you also have very aggressive plan in this, and this became a kind of hot topic globally, not only States, Europe, and also in Asia, including China and India and Korea as well. So my question will be, what's your personal view? What's your view, about this electric vehicle? I see a lot of the, arguments about this, like whether the energy is coming from the green energy, clean energy, whether that's really can save this, pollution and help the earth. And if possible, we can share some, further plan, your plan about the, both Ssangyong and Mahindra.
Sure, thank you. So electric vehicle is a subject that we can spend next 1 hour talking about. As I said earlier, that this is the hottest thing in the auto industry globally right now. And so what is the future of electric vehicles and what that might do to diesel and gasoline or petrol vehicles. Clearly, those who follow auto industry know that globally there is a sentiment against diesel vehicles, that's for sure. It was partly because of the scandal that happened with few companies doing certain things, and partly because there is a clear belief that diesel is dirty, bad for environment, bad for health. So diesel is declining. I think Korea and India are, and Western Europe are only three areas in the world, regions in the world where diesel still has a good acceptance, and all three, Korea being the last one, are beginning to start taking action against diesel. So that's going to prompt move towards electric because there is a fuel efficiency norm to be met, and diesel is good for fuel efficiency, CO2 emission. And if diesel is going to go down, then something has to compensate for it, and electric will become more and more desirable. The second thing that is happening is cost of batteries going down significantly, and two of the largest battery manufacturers are Korean, Samsung and LG, and there are various projections of what the cost may come down, but it may become half of what it is in the next 4 to 5 years. And if the battery cost becomes half of what it is today, and then the electric vehicles become similar cost as a diesel or a petrol vehicle. And undoubtedly, if these vehicles are similar cost with zero emission and good range, then there will be a pull created for these vehicles among customers, and these vehicles will grow. The problem that I see today is that the electric vehicle sales are happening supported largely by government incentives. Now, government incentive can happen when the volumes are low. When volumes become large, government incentive is not possible because no country in the world, China being the only exception, can afford to support if the vehicle sales are in millions by giving incentive. So I do not know what will happen when the incentives become zero, but hopefully the battery cost coming down will compensate for it. I have no doubt that by 2030, electric vehicles certainly will be mainstream. Whether it will be 20% penetration, 40% penetration, 10% penetration, I don't want to make that prediction right now. There are many people making the prediction ranging from as low as 5% to as high as 80% that I have seen. And the consultant can always make a prediction and then give reasons why his prediction was not right. But in any case, it will be mainstream by 2030. And all parts of the world will heavily move towards electric vehicle with the government regulation, either in a carrot or a stick. That will happen. In fact, your company probably will benefit a lot in that because electric vehicles do require lightweight, and lightweight means right now aluminum is the most affordable lightweight. And in fact, I had a meeting with Mr. Satish Pai just about 2 weeks ago. He had brought in people from Europe to sort of help us in using more aluminum in our vehicles, with electric vehicle being the priority. In India, there is a very strong government resolve to make India 100% electric by 2030. Okay. Now, most people don't believe that's possible because today we sell less than 100 vehicles a month, and all of those are from Mahindra. From less than 100 a month in 13 years is very unlikely to happen. But doesn't matter. that's the result. And even if instead of 100% we get to 20%, 25%, that's a pretty good achievement that will happen. My belief is that Korea also will follow a similar path where there will be aggressive support for electric vehicles, and many companies already launched commercial electric vehicles, some are working on it. Both Mahindra and Ssangyong are working on the next generation of electric vehicles, and we will be working together, developing platform together, developing the technology together, and try and see how coming together we can launch a product that is affordable, both for the consumer and for the company both. And we will be launching probably about 2.5 to 3 years, maybe the first electric vehicle that will launch for Ssangyong. So I can go on electric vehicle, but that's a short answer. Long answer to your short question. Short answer, I don't know. Okay. Thank you.
So, good morning, Dr. Goenka. My name is Milo. I'm working for the company Leone. We're a global wiring harness supplier, and then we also to Ssangyong. So thank you, first of all, for sharing these insights on something that I have been following along ever since the end of 2008, which was the time I came to Korea. And now following these insights was quite interesting to see how things have developed, let's say, from an info point of view. We were, of course, very thrilled to see what happened with the Tivoli, because I remember some supplier meetings back in the days where Ssangyong kept on saying the plan is to have 400,000 vehicles by this and then this was always year over year, this was stretched to next year, and then all of a sudden Tivoli came along, and all of a sudden this became some meat to the bone, and we started believing what Ssangyong was saying, and also knowing, of course, that there was a strong investor behind with Mahindra&Mahindra. So the question I'm having is, for a global company like ours, and I think there's a couple of ones in the room, and I think the same applies to the Korean companies, with what we see on the GM side, which I don't want to elaborate on this now. I'm wondering, what's the strategy when it comes for Ssangyong on the sales here in Korea, and the platform strategy that is involved there? Because of course, with what was just mentioned on the electrical vehicle side, for a company like ours, being an electrical field, this is a big hot topic, and we have tremendous order intake around the world, unbelievable, and all the big OEMs, of course, they all want to now step on this train. At the same time, as a diligent supplier to Ssangyong, we also want to provide our services to Ssangyong. But to tell you the truth, it's very difficult to do that if you're looking at 150,000 vehicles and all these platforms that have to be managed on the engineering side. So the question boils down to, you're now at roughly 160,000 vehicles. You said you're looking on a break-even scenario of 200,000 vehicles. We do see your plans going beyond 300,000 vehicles. So what's the likelihood that you feel that this is going to happen? And more importantly, when it comes to these platforms, what are you going to do about it? Because I remember one saying, and then I'll finish this question. I remember one saying from Mr. Wee, I believe it was. He said, "Well, we basically have to kill," and he used the word "kill." I mean, it wasn't translated to me, so I assume it was the word "kill." We need to kill any platform that's below 100,000 vehicles. So I'm wondering, what are your plans on that regarding that strategy? Thank you.
Yeah, I wish that I could make the last statement. I don't think that we can yet, both for Mahindra and Ssangyong. It would be nice if each platform gave us at least 100,000 vehicles. And in all fairness, it's becoming more and more difficult to manage small volume platforms. In fact, if I go back to Mahindra for a minute, our strength traditionally has been that we're able to make money with small volume platforms. I don't think any of our platforms give us more than 70,000 vehicles. The maximum that we get, and we are amongst one of the most profitable companies, auto company in the world in terms of profit margin. So we have somehow found the formula, but it's becoming more and more difficult. I must say that, but everybody else has kind of caught up with things that we were doing better. The question that you asked is that what is the confidence of getting to the kind of numbers that we're talking about? And in all honesty, standing here, I have to say very high. Because I cannot say that I have low confidence and walk away from this room, right? So there I cannot give you a truthful answer. Okay? That doesn't mean that I'm not confident. I'm just saying that my answer always has to be very high. Okay. Having said that, what I would like to point out that our product planning department in Ssangyong has done a very good job in clearly defining a platform strategy where we would have 3 major platforms and all our products will be on 3 platforms. There may be 1 or 2 sort of small volume niche platform, but three major platforms with a clearly defined engine strategy where everything will be based on 2 engine platforms and 3 vehicle platforms. If we are going to get to 300,000 vehicles, which is what we aim for, then 3 platforms, 300,000 vehicles, 300 divided by 3, simple math, 100,000 each. And so that works quite well. I think it's certainly doable. Okay, there's no doubt about it, because in auto world, 150, 200,000 vehicles is a very small quantity. Korean market itself is what is it? Market. 1.8 million. Korean market is 1.8 million, with the lion's share going to one group, and therefore the potential to go there is very high. What we need is 3 things. Brand, most important. Okay. Today, a customer would still think twice before buying a Ssangyong, because they're more comfortable buying the market leader product, more familiar with it. They think they'll be serviced better, they think they'll be treated better, they think there'll be less quality issues. So even the products are very comparable in all regards, whether you talk about performance, you talk about technical features, you talk about reliability, you talk about quality, very comparable, but still customer would want a 3 or 4% discount to buy a Ssangyong, and we need to get over that hump to get to that point. So very important part, number 1. Number 2 is for us to manage the network in a way that the products are available with the same ease as it is for market leaders. Right? I'm just talking right now the Korean market, not about export. We are at about 6% market share right now. We just have to go to about 10% to get to the kind of volume that we are talking about. With the product pipeline that we have what I call in management jargon right to win. We have the right to win to get to a 10% market share. And I think if we get there, then we have the volume for sure. There's no doubt about it. And what happens is, in auto industry, like almost any other industry, if you sell, everything falls in place, right? your purchase costs become well, your morale goes up, your fixed cost gets distributed over a wider denominator, and everything starts working well. And more so in auto industry than perhaps many other industries, because of very high fixed cost that we have in auto industry. So I think the leveraging that is possible for us, if we're able to get to that from 6 to 7 to 8, 10 would be very nice if we can get there. Will get us to that point. 200,000 is what we need to kind of be comfortable financially. 250,000 is about how much we can stretch the current plant to. And beyond 250, then we have to take a call on whether we set up another plant here, whether we do more CKD, whether we set up a plant outside Korea. But I'll be happy to be in that situation where we have to take that call. Okay? Did I answer your question?
I think I did.
Hello. This one?
Hi, well, I don't need a microphone, I guess. I'm MSU from Goenka. I will get to you mentioned about the synergy between Mahindra and Ssangyong Motors. So how do you see the future role of Ssangyong Motors in line as a part of your global marketing strategy in Mahindra?
Very good question. I think we have to play the 2 brands, Mahindra and Ssangyong, as complementing each other. There are certain markets, so let me talk about global strategy first, and I'll come to the platform side. There are certain markets where Ssangyong should take the lead. There are certain markets where Mahindra brand should take the lead. Right? And we are kind of moving in that direction, and not in a very structured, formal manner, but evolving there. And then at a point of time, we'll sit down and say, okay, now let's make that more formal. For example, Western Europe is a market where Ssangyong is sort of developing their presence, and Mahindra is not focusing on Western market. If I look at African market, perhaps Mahindra is doing a little bit more in African markets than Ssangyong brand. So we need to kind of divide the world. Not necessarily say that Ssangyong doesn't sell here and Mahindra doesn't sell here, but Ssangyong leads in certain areas and Mahindra leads in some other areas. Right? We are also looking to possibility of sort of joint distribution, but I think to have two brands sell out of the same showroom doesn't work, and we have experimented and didn't quite work. The more important part will be what happens with technology and platforms. In auto industry, with the emission norms becoming tighter and tighter, the safety norms becoming tighter and tighter, electric vehicles potentially coming in, and the product cycles becoming shorter. And the investment required becomes very high for each platform. And that's why 100,000 becomes very important, because without 100,000 to invest that kind of money and have to reinvest in 3 or 4 years, not same product, but the same platform. And one of the biggest things that we have managed to do is agree on developing a common platform with joint ownership. So it's not a Mahindra platform used by Ssangyong or Ssangyong platform used by Mahindra. Both teams, in fact, this visit is when everything is going to get finalized. Both teams, Mahindra team and Ssangyong team, are working together, defining the platform together, dividing the work between Mahindra and Ssangyong, and will own the IP, co-own the IP for the platform. Obviously, we have two legal entities, Mahindra and Ssangyong, and we need to ensure that we do everything which is arm's length in terms of two legal entities working together, and justify and ensure that we meet all the governance between two legal entities, because two different sets of shareholders. But so the common platform, if we can do it, then Mahindra will develop 2 or maybe 3 products on that platform. Ssangyong will develop 2 or maybe 3 products on that platform, and together that platform can give us more than 100,000 vehicles in doing that. The engine platform that we have today is also sort of a common platform, where we took a platform and then Mahindra did its own engine and Ssangyong did its own engine. But we've done it in a way that we can machine the engines in any of the 2 plants, okay, and therefore be able to use the platform in some sense. And right now we're developing an engine that will be a common IP, again shared between Mahindra and Ssangyong. That engine will come out about 1 year from now, first time. Right? So a lot of that is going on. Technology development, electric vehicle development, all of these things where neither Mahindra nor Ssangyong independently can justify to invest that money. Together, we are able to invest money in those technologies.
I think we have time for one more question. Let's see, who should we take? Who's raise their hand first?
Rishi Ramchandran from IBM, you're a business research and advisory firm. 2 questions actually. Take a little bit of liberty there. The first one is about your models here. You said you're primarily an SUV company now, Ssangyong as well as Mahindra. But you do have one legacy model, which is Chery. So what are the plans for that, and will it continue to be in the lineup? The second one is in that fascinating story about what happened behind the scenes. I think one of the things, as an observer, as somebody who cares about the car industry, one of the things that I've noticed over the last 6 years is a design transformation. I didn't see any mention of that in the 5 points that you'd scribbled down. To the extent that, talking to fellow car lovers and people I know, one of the complaints about Ssangyong back then, whether it was as a result of SAIC
whatever the problem was, some hideous-looking models. Action, Chiron, Rhodius.
Yeah.
So how did that transformation come about, if you can throw some light?
Okay, thank you. So the first one, I cannot give a direct answer, but I would point you to the sales volume of chairman year after year, and that will give you the answer to your question. Okay, so if you can just follow that sales volume. Okay, we are not going to invest in sort of a non-SUV platform. That's a legacy platform that will continue for a while, and our numbers are very small. I think we are selling 200-300 per year or thereabouts, very, very small. I'm glad you brought out the design point. Didn't get mentioned, not because it's not important, but just because I had limited time and all this was scribbled while I was flying down in my flight, so I missed the design point. And my design director was very unhappy with me that I didn't talk about design. But this is one of the areas where I think there has been a remarkable transformation that is taking place. Ssangyong models were those who were very nice, call them weird. Others use adjectives even more sort of stronger than that. And what was amazing was that when we came in, we found that the ability of the in-house designers of Ssangyong was remarkable. Unfortunately, somehow the previous management did not trust ability of in-house designers, and most of these weird models that we talk about were designed outside Korea by famous designers. Okay, but probably with management input that made it sort of mix of something Korean, something Italian, something German. And I'm proud to say that almost every product that we have launched after takeover have been designed in-house in Ssangyong. Though we have taken inputs from outside, but have been designed by the same design team that existed for last several years. Heavily, completely done in-house. Of course, we always do 2 or 3 clay models before we decide the final one. But the final one was done in-house. G4 Extend done in-house, A200 being done in-house, C300 being done in-house. And so it just bringing in a perspective and the management listening more to designers. The mistake that management makes is they think that they know design and they start telling designers how to design. But designers know design. If you leave the designers alone and only give a general direction of where you want to go, I think they'll do a good job. So thank you for bringing that up. I think I'm very proud of the remarkable transformation that has happened in the way the Ssangyong products look these days. Again, thank you very much for all the questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Goenka. At this time, I'd like to ask both Dr. Goenka and also our ICCK chairman to come up here for a second. We have a small token of our appreciation. And also apologies to those of you out there who raised your hands for questions that we didn't have time to answer. I know that the answers were so spectacular and frank that I've never seen a forum like this in Korea where there have been so many questions, interesting questions and great answers. Thank you. As Dr. Goenka mentioned, this is not an eat and run investment. He's going to be here in Korea coming many, many times, and we'll invite him again in the future, and I hope you'll ask the question. Just a few last comments. Thank you very much for coming. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and for asking so many thoughtful questions. Thank you again to Dr. Goenka for coming and starting your trip in Korea with us. I hope the rest of it goes very well. Just again, to reiterate what our chairman, Tumbe, said regarding the Diwali ball. That will be on November the 11th. If you haven't reserved already, we hope that you will. We'll send you an additional flyer or reminder so that you can sign up. We still have a few chairs left. I've been here in Korea for 23 years. I can say I've been to every ball, literally. And the best ball is the ICCK volleyball, hands down. It's fantastic. They bring entertainment from India. It's really great. You will not regret it if you haven't been before. With that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for coming.